Hello.
Satterfield will open up on your right with Hale.
What were your just general thoughts on how things went on Saturday, just across the board? For you guys?
It was very disappointing. Just the production, the execution, everything. I thought we had a really good week of practice. I thought our guys were ready to go, and we never could get going. Couldn't get a first down to stay on the field.
Sat, you mentioned having a good week of practice and it didn't translate. Where, as you kind of look back on it, where was the disconnect from a good week of practice to not really translating on the field?
That's a great question. I wish I knew that. It's what we continue each week, each month. As a coach, that you try to find how can you make sure that your guys stay consistent. You always worry about that after you have a couple of weeks of success of making sure that everybody keeps that edge about them, the strain about them, and I thought that our guys did. It didn't show up on Saturday.
Sad a lot of the guys were in here yesterday saying that it seemed like Missouri knew what was coming, specifically later in the game. They'd raise their hands if it was a pass play for whatever, or in that instance. Mm-hmm. Going back to look at the tape, could you find ways where you guys were tipping what was coming?
I think that they did a really nice job of scouting us. I think they did a really nice job of watching us on the sideline and gathering tendencies. You always worry about it, for years now. It's kind of been a trend on defense. The D lineman can see how much weight is on the hand of the offensive lineman. You'll see, all kinds of people in our conference throw their hands up to alert pass, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, and sometimes it's tendencies of, demeanor of offensive linemen, quarterbacks, running backs. So, we've done a real deep dive starting on Sunday night. Zeb and those guys did a really nice job of finding some things that, we need to make sure we're changing up so we aren't giving, tips to other teams.
Yeah, Coach. Shane obviously was talking about the different personnel packages and how difficult it is to, I guess, include certain players and certain plays. Can you talk some about what challenges that might present trying to get, certain players the ball on certain plays, or even getting certain players on the field just in different setups?
Yeah, you try to have a feel for how the game's going to go and how you're going to play the game, and then you want to maximize the personnel and who's out there. Obviously, you have certain personnel groups, certain formations that, for different parts and segments of the field, different down and distances. And, sometimes you're right on and sometimes you're not. We got caught this past week. We had 4 possessions in the first half. We had, 3 and out or 5 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and then a 16-play drive. So the 16-play drive was a lot of 2-minute tempo stuff. So you go in at halftime and you've done nothing from a game plan standpoint of setting up anything. You can't stay out there long enough. So we didn't get to a lot of the plays that we had practiced all week, which could be good or bad because now we can carry them over and work them this week.
I'm sure coming out of any game, there are probably some things you'd like to have back or changes you wish you could have done, whatever. Is there anything that specifically when you look back at Saturday that you thought could have been better?
Obviously, yeah. I mean, you'd love to if I had a pause and rewind button on every play, I'd like to do certain things different on most of them. So, I think we just got to, if you watch the first half, it's a block here, a decision here, a call here. It was one of those days where things were not trending in our direction, at least offensively. The one thing I would, just going back and looking at the game, I think that with 11 minutes, 12 minutes, we were already in what we would call rally mode because we were 2 touchdowns down, so we were having to play fast and try to get chunks and try to save timeouts and try to score. I probably, if I had a do-over, would go back and just play that as a true possession of just if it takes 8 minutes, it takes 8 minutes, but just go get a touchdown, run your offense. So I probably got to rally a little bit too early. That'd probably be the one thing that I'd look at.
Marcus, Shane told us yesterday that he had a conversation with Jaheim about his playing time and told him that he should be on the field more. Have you also had a conversation with Jaheim? And if so, what was that like?
It's funny, not funny, but it is kind of funny that, Jaheim and I, he's one of my favorite players on the team. There's not a morning I don't walk by him and we hug. I want him to get on the field. I want him to, touch the ball a lot. Obviously, the other day, his certain packages and stuff, we were talking about going into the rally mode, he wasn't in those packages. And I should have just slowed down, stopped, realized, got him on the field. and gave him a chance to get some balls. But, just he's going to have chances every game. It's just whether the ball gets to him or not. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So, we're going to continue to make sure that we put him in opportunities to get the ball. And, when he does, it's special.
You went pretty screen pass heavy in the second half, especially with the horizontal. Was that kind of a substitute for the running game with Lloyd out, or was those part of those rally mode packages? Kind of what was going through your head there?
Well, it got to be a real thick drop back game, and they were getting a good pass rush on us, and I was just trying to slow down the pass rush and let Spencer have some plays where he just throws it out there, and then obviously. That was a crushing blow when Marshawn got banged up and he would be there for a play and then he'd be gone, and then he was fighting his butt off. It just it came to a point where he couldn't do it.
Hey Marcus, a lot of the guys yesterday talked about execution being kind of the thing they felt like was missing against Missouri. Is that something that you're able to change at this point in the season with only a couple of games left, and kind of what does that look like, refining those details at this stage?
Yes, I think practice is how you get the execution, and they were executing. The thing about football and team sports is 10 people could execute and one not, and it turns into a train wreck. So, just the practice, just making sure we're in situations and stressful situations where we're putting the pressure on all 11 guys to make sure that they're almost perfect on every play, and I think that will translate over to the game.
Marcus, you're about 2/3 of the way through the regular season now. As you sit here holistically on this offense, how good of a job do you feel like you and the staff have done in trying to maximize this offense's potential?
I mean, I think we've given it everything we've got. And I think that we continue to work hard. And I think that, we continue to have the trust of our players. And I think that, we've shown games where we've been productive and ran the ball and threw it and caught the ball and scored touchdowns. And there's games where we haven't. So we're still, again, not a young football team, but we're still early on in the stages. Spencer's first year, and just trying to build and mold what we ultimately want to look like as an offense. Certain pieces have been available, certain pieces haven't been available, but I just think that moving forward, I think that based on this week and how Spencer's attacked it and how everybody's attacked it, I think we're going to continue to get better.
Thank you. When you lose a player like Marshawn after his first carry, and I imagine that you game planned a lot during the week to have him there, how much does that affect what you're trying to do? And were you somewhat disappointed that the next guys up maybe couldn't keep it going in the running game?
The next guys up, are not disappointed in them at all. I think when you start, Marshawn Lloyd, I think is a really, really, really talented back that, we kind of fell accustomed to. You give him 5 carries, he's probably going to break off a 12 or 14-yard run every 3 carries. And so that allowed us, as an offense to sustain drives, get first downs. I think it became a lot harder to move the ball and get first downs when we lost him, for sure. That was a struggle.
Kind of sticking with the running back, but if Marshawn is somewhat limited against Vanderbilt, what's the plan there? And is Jaheim someone that could potentially get some carries in a thin running back room right now?
Yeah, we got a lot of guys that, played running back in high school, but, all hands on deck, whether it be quarterback runs, backup quarterbacks that played in the bowl game, receivers that played running back, receivers that returned kickoffs back 109 yards. Like, everybody's going to have a chance to see what they can do on Saturday night with the ball.
Kind of sticking with that, looking ahead to Saturday, what does jump out about Vanderbilt's defense and maybe those linebackers especially? Shane was talking about them a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, Zero is unbelievable. He's all over the place. He's disruptive. He's disruptive in the run game. He's disruptive in third down in the pass rush. He gets involved in the pass rush in the games. Just a very talented player, productive player. I think just from a schematic standpoint, very tough, hard-nosed. They're going to make you earn everything that you get. And then on certain down and distances, they make it tough on you with, certain types of pressures and simulators that they bring on certain down and distances that we got to be ready for.
Sat, Juju was getting the number 2 snaps when Marshawn went out. With him, not the biggest guy. It seemed like they were really just kind of overwhelming him at the point of attack. Can you effectively run him between the tackles with his size limitations?
I think he will try. Like, he'll go in there and he'll run into a wall, without a helmet on if you ask him to. But no, I don't think that you can. I don't think you can physically, sustain a game of him doing that. I think that you got to get Juju and some bigger guys in there when you're running in between the tackles, and Juju is a better runner whenever he doesn't have to go and carry 5 to 7 times inside the tackle box and get beat up a little bit by those big guys.
Sat Spencer after the game said that they didn't feel like they had a good enough idea of what was going on or knowing what to do as a coaching staff. How do you look at that? How do you see that? And what can y'all do to make sure guys maybe know the game plan a little bit better?
Yeah, he was laughing about that Sunday, just how it was misinterpreted. Like, I can promise you he knew what to do. And, Coach Beamer sits in our quarterback meetings every day and listens to it. And, through the progression of teaching, installing, like, Spencer knew exactly what to do. Thank you, guys.